Fascinating places in the world, inspiring journey around the world. There are places on our planet that defy logic, some that at first glance look like a work of art or a dream. Others seem to be remnants of ancient civilizations forgotten by time. There are also those that nature has created with such precision that they arouse anxiety and fascination. Traveling across continents, you can come across wonders that seem out of place in the world around you. Lakes that turn into mirrors, ancient islands that could hold legends of Atlantis, or mountains that resemble the works of giants. In this episode, I invite you on a journey to 7 places that amaze with their form, color, and history. Places that are sacred to many, but terrifying to others. From the icy depths of Siberia, through the tropical hills of the Philippines, to the rocky cliffs of Norway. Together we will discover landscapes that change the way we look at the world. Are these just unusual geological formations, or are they traces of something more? Perhaps our past that we are still discovering, or perhaps the future that is yet to come. Let us begin this inspiring journey into the unknown. Part 1. Lake Baikal in winter, the icy heart of Siberia. In the heart of the Siberian wilderness, surrounded by snowy peaks and endless stretches of taiga, lies a place that surprises scientists and spiritual shamans alike. Lake Baikal, the deepest body of fresh water on Earth. In winter, it turns into an icy empire where everything falls silent and still. The frozen surface stretches to the horizon like a crystal mirror, and the air trembles with frost reaching 40 degrees below zero. The ice is so transparent that you can see rocks and plants, even at a depth of a dozen or so meters. It is here, under the thick layer of ice, that mysterious cracks resonate, which according to scientists are the result of the movement of ice masses, and according to the locals, the voice of ancient spirits. Baikal is over 25 million years old. During this time, it has gathered around itself not only incredible biodiversity, with over 1,000 species that do not occur anywhere else, but also countless legends. The Buryats, the indigenous inhabitants of these areas, believe that in the depths of the lake sleeps the spirit of the holy water, Baikal Han. According to the story, when the ice shell bursts with a bang, it is he who stretches and wakes up from his slumber. In the southern Baikal region, near Alkaline Island, there are places where shamans perform rituals, even today. Stone circles, milk offerings, ribbons hung from pine trees. All of this is to ensure balance between man and the forces of nature. The uniqueness of this place is that everyone who comes here feels like a guest in another world, austere, but full of beauty. Baikal does not need lights or temples. It is sacred in itself, and winter only highlights its magical nature. Part 2. Chocolate Hills, Philippines. A miracle of geology or a work of supernatural forces? On the island of Bohol, in the central Philippines, the landscape seems to defy natural order. More than 1,200 almost perfectly conical hills stretch across an area of 50 square kilometers, creating a view that looks more like a computer graphic than a work of nature. The chocolate hills owe their name to their color. During the dry season, the grass that grows on them dries out, taking on an intense brown shade. From a bird's eye view, the hills resemble scattered pralines. Each of them is between 30 and 50 meters high, and their arrangement seems too regular to be a coincidence. The official version is that the formations were created by the erosion of limestone rocks that were deposited on the ancient seabed. But for many locals, this explanation is too simple. Local legends tell of 2 giants who fought a battle with boulders and clods of earth. When, tired of fighting, they made up, they left behind a field full of hills. Another story tells of a giant who fell in love with a mortal woman. After her death, his tears turned into hills. This place has long attracted not only tourists, but also researchers from all over the world. Interestingly, despite its popularity, no full archaeological research of this area has been conducted to this day. What could be hidden under the layer of soil and grass? Some believe that the Chocolate Hills are buried, ancient mounds. Others believe that it is a place of power, where the energy of the earth is concentrated in a geometric order. Standing among these perfect formations, surrounded by silence and a warm wind, it is hard not to get the impression that nature, or something even older, has spoken here in its own incomprehensible language. Part 3. Mono Lake, Lunar Landscape and Traces of the Past, California. On the edge of the Mojave Desert, in the shadow of the majestic Sierra Nevada mountains, lies a place that seems to belong to another world. Mono Lake, one of the oldest lakes in North America, formed nearly 1 million years ago. But what really makes it special are its extraordinary rock formations called tufas, limestone towers rising straight out of the water. The tuffs are formed by contact between underground sources rich in calcium and salty lake water containing carbonates. They have been forming for thousands of years, but today, after the water level has dropped, they protrude above the surface like stone trees. Their fanciful shapes and light colors make the landscape resemble a distant planet. The water in Mono Lake is undrinkable. It is more than twice as alkaline as seawater and 10 times saltier. Despite this, life here is surprisingly vibrant. Microscopic brine shrimp and millions of flies provide a base for birds migrating across the Pacific. For ornithologists, it is one of the most important places in this part of the world. But it's not just biology that's attracting attention. In the 1930s, the lake's waters began to be directed to Los Angeles, more than 200 miles away. The water level dropped dramatically, exposing the underwater tufas and causing an ecological disaster. Only intense protests by nature conservationists led to a reduction in exploitation and a slow process of restoration. For the Kutzadiga Native Americans, Mono Lake has been a spiritual place for centuries. Their stories tell of beings that dwell in its depths, guardians of nature whose wrath is revealed in storms and droughts. Today, Mono is not only a miracle of nature, but also a reminder of how fragile the balance between humans and the environment can be. Part 4. Devil's Tower, the Stone Puzzle, Wyoming. In the heart of Wyoming, against a backdrop of vast prairies and pine-covered hills, a solitary basalt tower rises. It is 1,000 feet high, with vertical fluted walls resembling a giant organ. This is Devil's Tower, a place shrouded in legend and scientific mystery. Officially, the formation was formed by cooling magma that failed to reach the surface of the Earth. Over time, erosion washed away the surrounding sediments, leaving this unusual, hexagonally cut monolith. However, even scientists admit that the way in which its columns were formed still raises questions. For Native American tribes such as the Lakota, Cheyenne, and Kiowa, it is not just a geological oddity, but a sacred mountain. One of the oldest legends tells of 7 sisters fleeing from a giant bear. They were lifted by the spirits to the top of the rock, and the beast's claws carved deep grooves that we can still see today. There is no natural path to the top of the tower. Despite this, some daredevils decide to climb it, although for many, it is a place best left untouched. In July, during the spiritual celebrations, climbing is suspended out of respect for indigenous rituals. Then you can see colorful ribbons hanging from the trees, prayers offered to the spirits of the ancestors. The Devil's Tower also gained fame thanks to cinematography. It was here that Steven Spielberg set the climactic scene of the film, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Since then, this place has attracted not only mystics, but also lovers of unexplained phenomena. Some say that it is an energy point on Earth, others, an interdimensional relay. But the real mystery is that no matter how much we know, this lonely tower still feels like something unnaturally perfect. Part 5. Plitvice Lakes, a land flowing with water, Croatia. Deep in the Croatian forests, among the limestone hills, there is a place where time seems to flow together with the water. The Plitvice Lakes, 16 natural reservoirs, connected by cascades, waterfalls, and streams, create a labyrinth of constantly changing colors and sounds. The water flows swiftly over stones covered with moss, creating the impression that the entire land is breathing. This national park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is famous for the extraordinary color of its waters, from deep turquoise through emerald to crystal blue. The hue changes depending on the light, the angle of view, and the presence of minerals that settle on the bottom. Natural dams, travertines, are formed in the limestone formations, dividing the lakes and changing their course in an almost organic way. But the Plitvice Lakes are not only a fabulous scenery, they are also a place shrouded in ancient legends. One legend has it that in times of great drought, the locals begged the Queen of Witches for help. When she finally appeared, she struck the ground with her staff, and rain poured down from the sky, creating the first lake, Trolltunga. From then on, the water was to protect the people and their land, but also demand respect. In the forests surrounding the lakes, you can often come across deer, wolves, and brown bears. This place has retained its wild, primeval atmosphere, despite the fact that it is visited by hundreds of thousands of tourists every year. However, walking along wooden footbridges among mists and walls of water makes one feel like a lonely wanderer in an ancient garden of nature. Some say that the water in the lakes has cleansing properties, not only the body, but also the mind. Maybe that is why Plitvice has been considered for centuries a place where nature speaks in whispers, but speaks to everyone. Part 6, Trolltunga, the Troll Tongue and the Nordic Mystery, Norway. In the Norwegian fjords, high above the turquoise lake Ringadalsvatnet, rises a rocky shelf that looks as if it were torn from a Norse legend. Trolltunga, or Troll's Tongue, juts out horizontally from the cliff, like the stone tongue of a dead giant, suspended 700 meters above the precipice. For centuries, it has attracted not only the daredevils, but also those who believe that this place hides ancient powers. According to local legends, long ago, giant trolls lived in this valley. One of them, the most arrogant and curious, dared to look over the mountains to look at the sun. According to legend, the daylight turned him into a stone, and the tongue he stuck out in delight remained exposed for eternity. Thus was born Trolltunga, as a warning to those who do not respect the balance between the world of people and the creatures of nature. To reach the summit, you have to overcome a route of 28 kilometers, more than 10 hours of walking through rugged, mountainous terrain. Despite the effort, the view from the ledge is breathtaking. The silence on the mountain is almost absolute. Only the wind reminds you of how high you have climbed. For some, it is a spiritual pilgrimage. For others, a moment full of adrenaline and inner triumph. In the past, Trolltunga was believed to be a place where one could communicate with nature. Norse shamans would perform rituals here, asking the spirits of the mountains for wisdom and visions. Today, few traces of these ceremonies remain, but the feeling of the presence of something more still hovers over the rock. Trolltunga is not just a geological wonder. It is a place that puts you in a state of contemplation of the power of nature and human fragility. Part 7, Santorini, Greece, a trace of Atlantis. In the blue waters of the Aegean Sea, in the shape of a crescent moon, lies an island that not only captivates with the sight of white houses against the backdrop of rocky cliffs, but also has fired the imagination of explorers for generations. Santorini, also known as Thera, is the remains of one of the most powerful volcanic eruptions in the history of civilization, and it is here that many see the origins of the ancient legend of the sunken empire, Atlantis. About 3,500 years ago, the island exploded with a force that wiped out much of the land and caused a massive tsunami that reached Crete. In an instant, the thriving Minoan settlement of Akrotiri disappeared. The Greek philosopher Plato, in his dialogues, described Atlantis as an island highly developed technologically and spiritually that sank into the sea in a single day and night. Many scholars suggest that the story may have been inspired by the fate of Santorini. The layout of the city of Akrotiri, the sewage system, and the advanced architecture arouse admiration even today. The volcano's energy still lies beneath the surface. It last erupted in the 20th century, and the crater, now partially submerged by water, is still active. Is this a warning that history may repeat itself? Whether or not you believe in Atlantis, Santorini remains a place where history, myth, and the power of nature intertwine in a tale that never ceases to amaze. Traveling through these extraordinary places, it is hard to resist the impression that our planet is not just a collection of continents and seas, but something much deeper, a treasury of history, emotions, and secrets that are yet to be discovered. Every landscape, even the most remote and inaccessible, has its own story to tell, sometimes beautiful, sometimes disturbing, always moving. Are these wonders of nature just the work of fate, Or do they carry the message of ancient cultures, histories that have survived in the rocks, water and silence of the passing centuries? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe if you want, and see you in the next episode.